everybody. We going live from the Women Inspiring Network. It's a platform to inform and inspire women. We build network which creates ecosystem for women to thrive, lead, and create. Today we'll have Archana Surana joining us from her network. She is the Dean of Art School of Design. Let me see, where is she? Yes, I can see Archana, who's just joined us. Hi, Archana.
Hi, Stuti. How are you?
Good, good. So, Archana is a design and educator, mentor, entrepreneur, founder and director, Art College of Design and Business, founder and chairperson, Women's Mentor Forum, Vital Voices, and a lead fellow. I happened to meet Archana during my interaction with her, being part of the same Vital Voices network. And, we've been part of few of the mentorship programs with Vital Voices. And it's so good for Archana to be here. Archana, do you want to tell us something about yourself, your journey, how you started?
Yeah. Thank you, Stuti. So it's always nice to connect with strong women from across our country, and especially when Vital Voices got us together, and we being, alumni of the same program. I went in 2007 when India first got the opportunity to be a part of the International Women Leaders Mentoring Partnership Program of the US State Department, the Fortune magazine, and Vital Voices. And I think you went in the year 2010, 11?
Yes, 2011.
Right. So I have some great fond memories of this trip, So connecting with 32 women from 22 different countries, staying in, Manhattan for a week, having a shadow of Fortune CEO. So, mentoring, I completely experienced women power very closely, and the whole essence of mentoring, which probably was very much in the air, mentorship, but really getting to experience it was very profound. And in the year 2012, when I actually got Geraldine as my mentor during the Global Ambassadors Program in India, that was the most exciting time when I was struggling in my business. So I'm a homegrown entrepreneur. I'd be candid to say that. I moved from Delhi into Jaipur, not realizing what my fortune holds here. And I started in 2 rooms of my residence. And I was taught, I learned fashion, and I used to teach at the South Delhi Polytechnic, interestingly. And my family was not very keen that I did a job because, I came from a business family. So, it's always nice that everybody's earning. Yeah. So you better stay at home and, see all the good things around, So, but I was very, I always felt that women need to be self-reliant. So I against the wishes of my father, I took up the job at South Delhi Polytechnic. And here I come into a family of professionals. My mother-in-law, professor in German language, my husband, a lawyer, my sister-in-law, again, a professor in German language in Mumbai. And they all wanted me to work. So it was like almost a dream come true. And I realized that the city had so much of potential, in terms of gems and jewelry. Though I had done fashion, but I felt, and today I'm sitting in front of you with 20 years of legacy of Arch College of Design and Business. I really feel that jewelry is something that has made me who I am, and really made us popular all across. So today we offer 4-year undergraduate programs and postgraduate programs. I'm also the dean at the Rajasthan Skills University, which is India's first skills university for fashion, jewelry, and interiors. So we've been instrumental in getting a 4-year bachelor's in design degree approved, which traditional universities would never consider them as mainstream pathways. So in this whole process where I was going through, I realized that mentoring was something that became very close to my heart. So when you were talking about your Women Inspiring Network, and here I run the Women Mentors Forum in the city. So I initiated this in the year 2014. It's been 6 years. So we've touched the lives of 600 directly women, through mentoring. Yeah. And if I say indirectly, we've impacted around 2,000 plus women of Jaipur.
So just to tell you, Archana, after the program, which I went in 2011, and it's been quite a while, I mean, having started Crosses at the age of 23, I've been wanting to do something for women's initiative. So, Crosses Communication, which is like a public relation and social media company, However, when I started, I've been wanting to do, but I have never had the time. You know, sometimes I partnered with you know, for the mentoring walk, or, you know, the American Center to do like a mentoring program. So I've done that with even institutes. But actually, during the lockdown, Women Inspiring Network took shape. You know, we did a webinar with 70 speakers, and, you know, our strategies post COVID. And now we're doing Winning the Lockdown movement, which has the voices of 100 women like us, and media professional, actors, influencers, you know, home entrepreneurs, bakers, talking about the positive message about what is the one thing which kept them positive during lockdown. And in a span of less than 2 months, we are already a platform of 300 plus women. So been a great thing. And of course, when I was speaking to you, and, you know, I've interacted with you, I mean, talking to you is now giving me goosebumps, and, you know, how we can also scale up. But I would really love to sort of hear your thoughts more on, you know, like, what do you see? Do you see workplace changing post COVID? What skills will be important post COVID,
Okay.
especially concerning the education space?
So I just, you know, it just occurs to me that we had all gotten so fond of the word disruption, you know. And
Yeah.
this is truly disruption. So when we had the Ubers and the Swiggies came in, we become like, you know, oh, look at the new disruptive models, you know, whether they're tech-based or whatever. So I said, you know, I just feel that the whole world has gone at the disruption at the same time, where even the Ubers and the Swiggies are now under question mark, you know, how they're going to operate. It's all about, you know, completely redefining in terms of how the businesses are going to be. So I think lots of us truly felt that, you know, it was quite tiring, and truly, you know, there was a lot of fatigue. Despite of that, because human beings are so adaptive and resilient, you know, we kept moving on and going on with the lifestyle that was there. So I think the COVID has given that true relaxation to all of us. And I think somewhere deep inside, whether there is financial crisis that's going on, and that's, I think that's temporary, you know. There are always businesses that would come up, and there are certain businesses which would fade away, you know, whether you like it or not. So even if when the Ubers came in, I think the taxi business went out of place, or if the malls came in, the small shopkeepers went out of space. So I think, you know, there's something or the other which is always happening around us. But the only thing right now is, the beauty that we are seeing is that nature has gotten its breather. And when we talk about nature, we are a part of nature. And I think the human being itself has gotten the breather to actually sit back, relax. And I think a lot of our health issues have actually faded in this whole course of, you know, being at home, being with the family, eating good food, having fresh air to breathe, you know. So
fresh air is important, especially in a city like Delhi. I can see birds. You know, I have a 3-year-old. I take her to the terrace, and I'm like, okay, I never did it earlier, and suddenly we are all, you know, trying to breathe in fresh air.
Yep. Even I really feel that, you know, Jaipur, while people were talking about Delhi, but Jaipur had really become, you know, choking the kind of it is in Delhi. So I'm really happy that, you know, that thing has happened. But when we're talking about the real skills, I see young people have a challenge right now, because it's very difficult, because they've not been through challenges. They've been into a comfort zone where their parents have actually helped them, support them. So, you know, and while they're wanting to pick up on their careers, people who've just graduated right now, because I see a lot of our people, but I see a lot of positivity. But on the other hand, also I see that, you know, the resilience and being adaptive is something that is very much required right now. And, you know, irrespective of what's going on, there's a space for everybody, and everybody will find their feet again. And it's very important to be positive in the sense that, you know, all is happening for good, and everything is for good. And it's a time to, again, look back, because as I said, you know, earlier it was in bits and parts, in nations and countries, or maybe states, or even localities. But now disruption has happened at one big go. And with the digital space connecting us, we never thought of connecting otherwise like this, you know. And it has made it so much possible. Look at how much knowledge is available to us. So I think nobody should feel deprived. They should rather feel that, you know, everything is so easily accessible. You don't have to pay now anything. There are loads of webinars. Everybody is giving free for knowledge for free. So I think the very
Books can be
important thing is,
downloaded.
yeah.
So, I mean, I realized it myself that it was, you know, I mean, I just look at it, it's like a level playing field. You know, everybody in the world over is in the same situation. And it's all about how we can reset ourselves and relook at things, how we used to do. You know, I mean, we all have to sometimes change the way we do things. We'd all become really, you know, okay, everybody, and we were all so busy. So, I mean, I thought I was able to think both constructively and positively for the Women Inspiring Network. You know, otherwise what happens? You're traveling, you're going to office, you know, you're stuck in a traffic jam, and you know, with it comes a lot of other paraphilias. So this sort of allowed us to be able to, you know, reconnect with ourselves. You know, how even wellness and other things, you know, we've been able to take care of ourselves and our environment.
Absolutely.
I wanted you to also now, Archana, throw us some light on, you know, you come from a design space, design, fashion, luxury, sustainability. You know, throw some light on that. How do you see that changing post-COVID? You know?
See, I think we just did an international conference on from 26th to 30th of Jan, and I think the big breakout of the COVID actually happened exactly on the 30th. And we were so glad that all our international delegates, we had 250 delegates from across 20 countries and around 30 plus universities and colleges in fashion and design across the globe. And what was this all the colloquium about? It was on responsible fashion. So we opened a third series, which London College of Fashion, Domus, Parsons, and IFM Paris, they initiated it 10 years back. So it had already completed a decade, and we felt that the whole idea of addressing a responsible future was very important. So we actually had the Jaipur Fashion Manifesto, which was an international manifesto that we launched on 30th of Jan amidst all these institutions and all these countries owning it up. So the whole idea of a responsible future had already stepped in. And what really is that this COVID has really gotten now everybody to think what truly responsible is, what sustainable is, what sustainability would mean. Otherwise, everybody was on the, on the bandwagon of sustainability, and a word like sustainable not really knowing whether it's sustainable or not. If you did something in natural dyes, you said it's sustainable. अरे भाई natural dye भी कौन से natural dye का जिसका नाम ले रहे हैं, कहाँ से आ रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, वो natural है या नहीं है, one really didn't know. So I think the whole, the idea that, today people would value things more, being close to nature would be valued more. So I think products that you're going to be investing in are going to be more long-term, because it's everybody across the world has been saying, possess something that you can feel pride in for years and years, rather than the use and throw culture. So I think while the e-commerce is still going to pick up and the whole fast fashion business is going to be more popular, but I think still the whole good design will be valued, because people are not going to fill up their wardrobes with everything around, and they will be very selective in what they pick up, what they wear, I've been talking to a lot of people like, Voila, Vishwas is my very good friend, who's the founder. And then the Etsy guy, Himanshu, I'm taking him on board tomorrow to talk about creative entrepreneurship and why, his platform can give entrepreneurial support. So everybody has been saying that, the conscious fashion and conscious living would be really valued. So I think products and services, anything to do in design, whether it's interior spaces to, talking about fashion or lifestyle or accessories, things that are going to be, addressing what conscious living truly made. So the hashtag saying that who made my clothes, I think it's just not only for clothes now, it's going to be for everything. Who made this stuff actually? I mean, when I look at movies nowadays and when there are two people hugging, I said, oh God, corona nahi ho jaye. That's the kind of fear that has mounted in all of us over these last 3 months, which is funny actually, So I think it's really going to be important. Yeah, definitely it's going to change mindsets. Yeah. In a big way.
And so now in these times, how do you see, what sort of advice are you giving your students, and how many students do you have in your institute, and how are you equipping them to deal with post-COVID world? How can they thrive essentially?
For me to have a chat with you is very, inspiring because we have a course in graphic communication and design communications and applied arts, while we offer fashion, jewelry, interior design, and product design. And we have a 4-year bachelor's in design, and we have an international study abroad program as well. So our students who study with us for 3 years, the 4th year, they go to the UK to complete their degree. And then we have a master's course, which are very unique because they are only design and entrepreneurship programs in fashion, jewelry, interiors, whatever specialization. So what I felt that, because I'm a homegrown entrepreneur, as I told you, I just started with 2 rooms from my residence. So entrepreneurship is something that's very close to my heart, very close to my heart. So creative, enterprise driven is what our whole education is. So in the year 2011, when I remember, Gujar Kand hua tha, and we had 2-3 saal tak barabar yahan se traffic, people couldn't come to give their interviews and things. We actually started our online entrance examination. So in India, we were the first to start an online entrance examination with a creative ability test of 3 hours, a general ability test for 2 hours, a video portfolio, and a Skype interaction. So this we've been doing for the last 9 years. So our admission process has not actually, shaken at all. And rather, we have an advantage right now. And we already have the learning management system because we are into an international pedagogy with international partners and things. So we have a completely an online learning management system that's in place. So our students are completely on the ERP and all the downloads and all that's happening. So we also have a design communication portal, which ensures that, our students feed in their best stuff there and put in the best product. I was just seeing a post today. So FDCI has also covered 2-3 of our students as best photographers for good styling and, photography as well.
Wow.
So our students are really doing well. And we've been very steady and strong. When I started, there were so many institutions with, entrepreneurs having big money or maybe their grandfather's parents. I didn't have anything of this sort, but we've been very consistent with our efforts and we make sure that our students get the best, and that's what has kept us here for 20. And this is our 20th year, So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I too definitely see a lot of push. I mean, overall, because of the business I'm in, towards more everything moving online and digital, which is great. And of course, disruption will take place. And what sort of advice do you think we should be giving to these young women entrepreneurs out there? Because the world is changing so fast.
See, I think with the digital media, we've actually been on this on the Zoom and doing our Instas, and I think with a lot of conversations that are already in the air, I think people are grasping very fast because it's a matter of survival right now. Everybody's in the survival mode. So gone are the days where you could be leisure, nahi main abhi 2 mahine sochungi, fir main karungi, then I'll think. Today, it's not about, the survival of the fittest. It's the survival of the quickest, How soon you're going to pick up on your ideas. And I'm seeing people have really started making business already. And I don't see that anybody is faltering in doing that. And I think it's beautiful. People are getting time to consolidate. A lot of planning that's happening for the new future, which otherwise we just didn't. It was like a marathon runner. You would sip and move and sip and move. Now you got the time to rest and actually see and reflect and rebuild on the whole thing. Yeah.
Just the other day on our platform, an architect came. She said, how could she get featured? We had someone who was making herbal masks. And she wanted to know how she could, expand. And there was also the first women online gamer who came to us and she had been felicitated by the president. So, of course, I am seeing these inspiring stories, which keeps us motivated also and makes us think, okay, what else is out there? And, I wanted to know how, because you and me both have been mentored internationally, and you've, of course, founded a mentoring platform, the Women's Mentor Forum. How important do you think is mentoring? How important is it for women to have mentors, and how can they benefit from this relationship? And I wanted you to throw some light on that.
See, Stuti, I want to acknowledge you because yours is a new one, but the way you've actually gotten the Women Inspiring Network and the kind of stories that you are coming up with, I think the whole idea of role models is something that still appeals to people. While our Indian ethos is about not making people very significant, it's about us, right? It's about not the ego, but the eco, right? It's about inclusivity, right? It's not about I did it. But yes, then the whole world of branding and communication, the I has actually come from the Western ecosystem. But if you look at today, the whole Western ecosystem is also talking about being inclusive and being about we, right? Rather than the I. So I think, yes, you're right about it, that, inspiring role models do make a lot of, impact. And mentoring is one space which I truly feel it's a very strong tool, because I've tried to use it across the board and by being very inclusive. So what we did is we picked up these young girls from the, we adopted 2 schools, the government schools, and we did around 9 months of mentoring program with them. Once a month, our 4 to 5 mentors would go and share with them, whether they're chartered accountants to lawyers to, from any domain, design or whatever. And these girls, I'm telling you guys, our public school children still don't have this kind of spark. The kind of spark these girls have, the drive they have, awesome. I still have goosebumps over my body remembering what kind of conversations I've done with them. They are like energetic. They want to ask questions. They're keen. हमारे वाले तो पूछेंगे, so they're all sitting. They'll wait. They'll watch. And they were all like curious people. So it's very important to be curious. So it feels good that, we've been able to touch their lives. Then I've started working with the homemakers. I feel that's a very big target group, because a lot of these homemakers are from affluent families. They've got the children who've grown up. They have been exposed well. They have good exposure with their husbands. But somehow the drive that they were not able to do something for themselves is something that's haunting them, I truly feel, And when they get that connect from us, and the belief that, yes, we are there for them. Women who are really professional, otherwise it's like, ye to kaam karti hai aur main nahi karti hu, kind of, that thing that comes in. So I've seen, that women really bloom, and that inspires me. So we started with professional women and entrepreneurs connecting, but we moved on to homemakers. We're doing with the school this thing, and we're also going to colleges to inspire in terms of, talking about mentoring as a very strong tool, because a lot of mentees are still not open, there is like, people have become more inward in the sense, I'd say introvert, I'm not saying inward. So mentoring allows them to share, connect, and that builds an ecosystem where women can stand for women's solidarity. We need to be a voice. We need to be a voice in policy advocacy. We need to be a voice in women's empowerment. We need to be a voice when it comes to, well-being of all. So that's what I see an opportunity with mentoring.
And do you see a difference on the way the mentoring system is, or the way we are doing in India and the way they're doing it in the West? Do you think we're reaching there, or what are your thoughts on that?
See, I would again say that I don't follow anybody's system. I just see how it has moved me, how it has inspired me. So if I say that my mentor came into my life when she helped me design my short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals, I have not done anything besides this. And I've just put mentoring into the space where you're connecting on a regular basis. You're connecting in the way you want it, but you're ensuring that the short-term, mid-term, long-term goals of your mentee gets fulfilled. That's it. And if we can do this much, I think it's good enough. And then when people feel that it is a complementing space and not a competing space, because women who have actually accomplished, they are generally very, secretive about how they made it, right? So women getting to invest in other women, I know it's difficult. So, but so even the people who are not there, in terms of name or fame, but they are women who have substance. I'm creating them as mentors. They are the ones who are investing, because, when we look at women, otherwise, a lot of them are very busy. In the Western world, what I've seen is the busiest one are the taking other times, which in India, still it's not happening. But I strongly feel that we are in a context like India, it's not required that way also. We need to create more women leaders. That's what the idea is.
That's great. So my last question now is going to be, tell us your, how you kept yourself positive during this lockdown, and what's your winning the lockdown message for us is?
Wow. You know, for me, I've realized one thing about me. When things are most difficult, I step up. And when people wouldn't know what to do, I would again step up. Because, you know, I somehow had developed this acumen, you know. I mean, I don't know how I did it, but when it's really crisis, that gives me the kick. So for me, I just don't feel कि I've worked more than what I would otherwise do. Because routine में तो क्या हो रहा है, सब चल रहा है. अरे मजा आ रहा है, क्या हुआ, अब कुछ करना है, you know, kind of thing. I know it's challenging. It's very challenging. So, but it's interesting as well. So it has its give and takes both ways.
Yeah. And one of the audience has sent us this question, and maybe we can answer that before we log off. What do you think is the most significant barrier to female leadership? That's a good question, actually.
Okay. So I know women, from the Indian mindset, if you look at it, the first idea that comes to a woman is that I need to take care of my family. And I think that's the best thing that she can do. And I think this is what a woman is actually carved for. There's no... You shaping lives within your family, it's not a small deal, man. It's not a small deal. If you can make them responsible citizens, if you can make them like, you know, Shivaji or, you know, Gandhi or whatever, you know. So I'm saying that, so women generally, you know, are not very coming forward. So that's one thing, that they want to be in the background to support their family, their husband and whatever. So that's one thing. But now if you look at women, that's not the case. Women today are actually hand in hand with men, which I feel is also not a good thing, because it's about your self-expression. Whatever, I did this work not because I should be doing or somebody told me. I would never do if anybody told me something to do it. I did it because I felt women need to be self-reliant for their dignity and, you know, in the world. And each one of us has the capacity. Why not explore that? That's it. If your drive is something that's important as a purpose, that should be fulfilling, not that you should or should not. And what is leadership, man? Leadership is again a concept. Who is a leader for somebody else may not be a leader for somebody else.
Sure.
Right? So it's very subjective. So if somebody sees me as a leader, somebody may not see me as a leader.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a lot of these words are actually very heavyweight. And I think when we try to fix ourselves into those words, I think we are going to be failures. It's just that you live by what your dream is and love what you do.
Yeah. And what's the most important attribute which successful leaders should have today?
Again, see, you know, there are videos which say top 10, top 5, top 50. So I'm not going to say anything here. You know, again, when you say a leader, every leader is distinct. You know,
that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, having empathy and, you know, persevering and, you know, thinking out of the box and, you know, how to rise up to the occasion is important, especially like in today's time.
See, you have to have a mix of all these, right?
Yes.
So as I said, the ego to the eco. So it sounds that, you know, it's a borrowed concept. Yes. But when you look at India, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam we talk about whether it's, I practice Vipassana also and say, so हम सब कहते हैं सबका भला हो, सबका भला हो. I think इससे बड़ी कोई leadership और attribute नहीं होता. जब हम सबका भला सोचते हैं, बड़ा सोचते हैं, you know, my dream is to have women of the world be self-reliant, right? I can't alter every woman's life, but I can dream of that. And when I dream of that, somewhere I reach somewhere. So I think the biggest attribute is I have to have a big vision and small goals. So I never set big goals, right? So because I never borrowed money for first 6 years of my life as an entrepreneur, I did not take any borrowings from the bank. I said, पढ़ता खाना चाहिए, जितना कमाया उतना करो, दूसरों को परेशान नहीं करना.
Yeah.
Right? And my husband told me one thing, lady, do whatever you can do. Don't come and cry on my shoulder, okay?
Yeah.
So you better do how much you can manage. So it's very important when you look as an attribute, your personal values and your big vision. With your smaller goals, you keep achieving your smaller goals and you keep making it bigger. So if you follow somebody, then you're going to fall down. Follow yourself.
Yeah. So
That's
with
the biggest
that, I'd
attitude.
like to end our conversation. But thank you so much, Archana, for joining us today and inspiring our viewers at the Women Inspiring Network. And thank you once again.
Thank you, Stuti. And I really want to acknowledge you for having me on your platform. And I see you as a very young role model to a lot of our students. And, you know, though you've got a child, you've got everybody, you look so young, you know, and that's a compliment for you. So let's keep chatting again. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you. Bye-bye.